Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone, wherever in the world you're coming to us from. Thanks for watching DYOR Live here on the DYOR Media Network. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, in this great digital media universe. So glad to be hosting another episode of this award-winning show called DYOR Live. And as usual, I got the feedback in my ear 3 days in a row. Anyway, thanks for watching this award-winning show. Yes, it was an award we gave ourselves, but still somebody has to win. Thank you very much. Today is May 27th, 2023. It's a good week. Lots of stuff going on in Bitcoin. We're up towards our highs. Everyone wants to see, is it going to go higher? Are we going to FOMO all the way up? What are we going to do? Are we going to dump down again? Stick around and listen to Pedro give his talk about Technical Tuesday. We're going to have guest host Chris Alexander from the Crypto Swamp Creatures here today. He'll be on in the second hour of the show today, bringing his insight into the geopolitical world of crypto, and we'll just say in good humor, and bring his good humor to the show. But as I said, lots going on. Good stuff in the news today. Stablecoin giant Circle files for an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange. If you remember last week, we were reporting on them trying to sell their company before the IPO. Makes things a lot easier if you can sell your company for the same amount of money. Still a deal at $6.7 billion. They've got $60 billion under assets. They pull in about $5 billion a year in cash. I don't know why it's so cheap. Anyway, maybe they're hoping for the price to boom, cash out on their options. Anyway, like I said, it's a good day today. Welcome, everybody. Let's see some comments here from the crowd. Hey, it's technically Tuesday. That's right, Crypto Mike. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Crypto Mike, I just saw the king again. This time I saw him without a bulletproof glass between my eyes and him. Watch the carriage. The landau top made of spotted beaver pelts. Going down the Wellington Avenue here in Ottawa. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I am at the offices in Canada today. Today was a big day. It was the King of Canada visits from his home in England. That's a little strange. But anyway, the King showed up yesterday for a little muckety-muck and pompity-pomp circumstance. And today he gave what's called the speech from the throne. And for those of you not versed in parliamentary style of government with constitutional monarchy, Parliament can't sit until the king says we're open for business, and he gives a speech. We'll forget the contents of the speech because that was a bunch of political mumbo jumbo. Mike says, "Oh, cool! God save the king." People were yelling, "God save the king!" It was fun. I am an American and certainly not a monarchist or a Canadian. But watching a good tradition and pomp and circumstance and all that type of stuff certainly is fun and interesting. And Mike, today I heard 155 howitzer go off right behind me, about 100 yards behind me, or 100 meters, in the 21 gun salute, and I didn't know it was coming. They are up on Parliament Hill, and I was over the Rideau Canal watching the stuff go on. And the first blast from the 21 gun salute, I thought I was going to just leap out of my skin. And then there was 20 more. When there's a 21 gun salute using 155 howitzer, you only need one. You don't need the other 20. And they're just firing the blanks. The blanks are very dull, just enough powder so the gun will cycle. But I can't even imagine when they've got the big shells in there that go, 20 miles or something like that, the sound of that. And I only heard 21. I didn't hear thousands like my grandfather did in the Battle of the Bulge in the war. I just can't even imagine stuff like that. Or just being in Afghanistan or Iraq when we're shelling the hillsides and stuff like that. Unbelievable type stuff. But it was very interesting watching the king do his thing here in Canada. There's many people, including everyone on the other side of the river across here in Quebec, that's like, he's not my king. They sound like Democrats in the U.S. They're like, that's not my president. It's tough. It's the king. The Quebecers get all bent out of shape because they're like, we were never part of this English thing. Yeah, neither was anyone in the Louisiana Purchase in the United States. That was all French. Still have French names, St. Louis, all the New Orleans and all this type of stuff. but they gave up the goods and said, oh, all right, we're gonna knock off this French shit and just be part of one big happy family. Quebec's not doing that, so the Bloc Quebec, we'll just call them the Bloc, the party from the separatist party from Quebec did not join the party today. They went home and sat in the corner. Mike says, I miss my queen though. Mike says you should stand next to the 155 when it's firing without ear protection. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you can see Pedro's apparently Pedro's just he's on here. He's got to get a few things done before the show starts. If you noticed, we used to start at 12:30, now at 12, and his schedule hasn't fully adjusted yet. But I can see that his laundry. His laundry is coming through on the virtual cam here. I gotta tell you that. That's really yeah. That's that is his laundry. Pedro is Pedroing. Yes, that's true. Oh, that is definitely true. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, a lot going on this week. Today we had durable goods come out. The numbers were good in that. The market pumped early after the release of that. Actually, wait a minute. Let me make sure I had that right. At 8:30 this morning. Yeah, it was really a non-event. I think they were released a little late. Market pumped. Wednesday, as I said yesterday, we have the FOMC meeting minutes released, in which they give the minutes of the meeting, so you can hear what the different commissioners have to say, different Fed governors have to say about interest rates and that type of stuff. Should be a market mover if there's anything controversial in it. Unemployment claims are Thursday at 8:30. Remember, if you're day trading, unemployment claims are always a big one for that. And then let's see. Thursday we also have home sales and crude inventories. Home sales hasn't been important lately because in Canada they're trying to get the home sales, home building going up. They can't do it. There's too much regulation. It's hopeless. And sales, the prices are up too high, so it's slowing. The U.S. doesn't have that big of a problem, mostly access to mortgages and that type of stuff, but rates are high. And Friday we have Canada's GDP, which is expected to be crap because they're going to lie, cheat, and steal that number because it's a new government. But at 8:30 on Friday we have the PC, the core personal expenditures, and that's always a good thing. It's as a measure of inflation and a measure of how much money you and I are spending and putting on our credit cards too. Which is a different number, but it's usually indicative of that. And I think, if I'm correct here, as Crypto Mike says, the man, the legend, Pedro is in the house. Pedro, you're on mute.
Oh, snaps, my people. What is up? What is up, my good peoples? How is everyone doing today? Shout in. Please tell me, the guys over in YouTube, tell me where you're coming from or where you would like to be. As an old saying I used to say, we all know I would love to be on the beaches of San Diego, where I can eat some taquerias and some taco trucks, chill, or be going to Santorini or Santorina.
Still having trouble with it. Still having trouble with it.
And you guys know what's up. But we got some good stuff populating today. I'm really excited, dude, that we're going to have Chris Alexander as my thing falls. Is this thing going to be a douche today? Don't be a douche. Oh, that's why. I'm being the douche. Come on. Yep, that's the reason why. Okay. There we go. Hopefully. Are we good?
I believe we're good.
Just center me real quick on that so that it can.
Here, we'll do. This is how to figure it out if you're centered. Are you center? My system's running slow. Hold on, there you go. Just gotta move yourself over a little bit.
But if I move myself over, then I'm off center, at least on my.
Turn your camera. That's the simplest thing.
We just do that right there. All right, there we go.
Oh, hold on, we're getting a jets are buzzing the city here. Oh, it's the that's cool. Currently, the king is laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier here in Ottawa, and we just had a flyover of Canada's fly team, whatever they're called, the snowbirds or the skybirds,
Blue Angels?
whatever. They're flying these 1952 planes that. Surprised they have any of them running at all.
CF-18s. Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm not sure the CF-18, unless you can see them on TV, Mike. I can't see them from my window. I thought they retired all these CF-18s. Snowbirds. I know. I couldn't tell what it was. Oh, anyway.
Shout out to the king. What's up? Hope he's doing well. He's healthy and strong and vibrant in his world and life. Also want to throw out the idea that bonds are quite fun and they are having a good time doing their thing. So, yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's gotta be boom. The bonds are doing what the bonds do.
I've got to stand by with me, ladies and gentlemen, while I
stay in the bar.
Just Pedro's camera here.
Dude, like I moved, like I'm literally center. So I don't understand.
No, you're just the way you now position your camera lower.
Oh shoot! So it cut off my head. Dang it!
Right, focus on your head, and all we see is your fingers on the keyboard there.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to work on that stuff there. All right, maybe I'll just do this. Hey guys, what's up? How you guys doing? I know. I just don't want to get a camera. Because once they have that camera connected to your thing, then they can tap into it and.
I have like 70 cameras, and like none of them are connected to the internet here, so you know you can.
But you're also not a consent. But the people can though. They can. Somebody can come in my house, set things up, and do it. So I'm like.
If you're worried about if the $5 wrench attack, then you got another problem.
I am. I'm very much am afraid, dude. There's so many things that I've like. Let's talk to. Well, he can't talk about it, but I would love to hear how America or other countries in the world literally come and like do espionage and steal stuff. And I'm just paranoid. Probably I'm just paranoid.
Yes, we'll call it paranoid.
You know what? It's
but a dose of healthy paranoia is good, though. You know,
yeah,
as long as it doesn't consume one's life and believe that chemicals are coming out the backs of airplanes and stuff like that.
What's funny is, so in Modesto, California, there's been a huge thing of, there's a large portion, and this is where I grew up at,
I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, check this out, large population now that is literally now going to the city of like the Central Valley area, and we're talking like Fresno, Sacramento, but there's, I think it's like 15% people, like it's a large portion. People saying, look, we're actually doing studies on our soil and we're doing all this other stuff, and they're finding all this stuff. Like, look, these are literally soil samples. These are, and
you're like, not gonna, don't drop conspiracy theory here, because
I am.
Our algorithm will go to 0.
Well, here's the thing. I bring this up. I'm not going to bring up the names or anything like that. As you know, I'm staying away from it. But there are literally, like all the new stuff that's coming out about with this evasive sickness, and that stuff is being kind of put out there in front of everybody going, oh, wow, a lot of this stuff is actually happening that the conspiracy theorists were talking about. And it's kind of blatant in our face, but because the previous administration. Well, similar situations are happening in kind of large portions of California, where people are actually paying, groups of people are going through, because it's affecting children. And most people don't realize that, like, there's a huge population of people who have autism out in like Central Valley, California area. And so people just don't understand why there's such a large portion comparative to the United States And so there's just a lot of money now being pushed to figure this out. And so some of the stuff that there might be hypothesized. I mean, listen, it was a conspiracy theory that used to say that, lead was bad, right? And or that,
except they figured that out before they even had real science. Now they have real science, and they still believe in all these crazy things. Although I agree with you on the autism thing, there's something in the environment in the United States causing more of that, because it doesn't happen it's almost non-existent in Africa.
The rest of the world.
Yeah, and here there's something. So it's like, what if Robert Kennedy is right and he gets rid of red dye number 5 and all of a sudden autism goes to 0, and you're like, oh, it was just, or yellow dye number 6 and Twinkies, they're like, oh, well, just ban Twinkies and everyone's fine.
Well, not even just ban Twinkies, but just create a Twinkie that isn't so filled with high fructose corn syrup and craziness.
Then it will never taste like molded plastic like the Twinkie does.
Did you see the as we are going now?
Yeah, let's go on to Bitcoin here, Paige. Let's talk about Bitcoin. What's going on today in the market?
Yeah.
Had a lot of volatility the past couple hours here. I made a few bucks here, Pedro. I made a few bucks. I called that pump here this morning, and then it went up, got too far away from the 21, and so I shorted it and called the dump. And I realize I'm over trading right now. I get that.
No.
Hold on. For me, I'm trading more than I'm comfortable with, but I'm doing it because I'm trying to learn a few things.
Are you rule base when you're doing it?
Mostly. I have a rule set up in my spreadsheet to drop down just like you do for different strategies to use. And the recovery after the dump was one of them. And like a news article comes out and says, everything bad in Bitcoin dumps. I allot myself a small amount of money to say, all right, let's do a small high leverage trade here, $25, see if we can turn that into $100 by catching the bounce. And I did that the other day. I didn't let it go 1 to 4. I got about 1 to 2, and I'm like, I'm just going to take my winnings and go home. But then this morning, I was long from a bull flag, and I said I didn't know it was going to pump that well, and durable goods came out and it pumped it even more. And then it got way too high too quickly, and I'm like, let's just short this thing, and I made another $100. So I was very happy with that. Arcade's in the house. What's up? The Bit Twinkie token? Yeah, I'm sure there was all kinds of Twinkie tokens there.
The Bit Twinkie token, is that a real thing? It probably is. Why am I even
probably
asking?
is?
Is
Yeah,
that a real
sure
thing?
it is.
I mean, if they got sprinkle fart dust, sprinkle unicorn fart dust as a token, and
dust.
it went to what was it, $100 million or $1 billion market cap? They've got to have something Twinkie. It's just, we're going to look back in this period in time of history and go, do you remember when unicorn fart dust went to XYZ, or these things called like meme coins made people filthy rich? It's going to be kind of cool. I think what's one of those things I actually like about crypto is that anybody can launch this.
Yep.
Launch these things, and the fact is that we're seeing it happen, and it's just kind of like an anomaly, but it's like I feel like a good anomaly, like the fact that anybody can launch a stable coin, anybody can launch it's almost like, it's a good and a bad thing, but it's just it's cool to be a part of this time in history. I know it sounds weird, but...
No, it doesn't, but it's a good time to be part of history, too, especially being up here in Canada.
What's up, Mike?
That's right. Played that for Crypto Mike here, and also because the King is here in town. King is getting ready to depart on Royal One, as they're calling the Air Canada flight that carries the King, Royal One, their head of state.
Royal One.
Yeah. And,
that's funny. Is that really? So it's like what is it?
Air Force One.
Air Force One.
I know, they totally stole our naming nomenclature, but still, and it was tagged like that. If you watch Flight Radar, they, Air Force One, they hide it on the various flight reporting things. But for the Air Canada flight, they're like, no, It's just the king. Don't worry about it. And so you could track him coming in from London, and it just says on it, Royal 1.
Is that a good thing that you can track them?
Well, I mean, to be honest, anyone that actually wants to track the airplane can take a $42 radar and point it up in the sky and get a bounce off of it. And so hiding it doesn't really help.
Yeah, it's not like he's like an actual head of state that makes decisions.
Arcade says, "Oh, Christmas tree, my home and native land. Forests bound to be cut to sit in our December living rooms." Hey, that's pretty good, huh?
That's actually pretty good. I almost want to call you like a magical singer, bro. You should think about going like professional, man.
All right.
Like you're at a point where it's just like, man, off the chain. Somebody give this man what's the word I want to use? A contract. He needs to get a deal right now. That's how good this man is.
I can now take over the shoes for you Canadians. Younger Canadians might not know this, but you older Canadians will know this name. Roger Doucet.
Roger
Doucet, in other words, Roger Duckett. Roger Doucet was the famous singer for the Habs, the Montreal Canadiens, in the late 60s and all of the 70s, and a little bit in the early 80s. And he would sing the O Canada and the Star Spangled Banner because he would travel with the Habs to sing. And I used to watch him when he came to the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island because I used to go watch Islanders games with my dad. And he would come in, and I knew the Canadian anthem since I was like, I don't know, 6, because this guy would come in and sing it like like nothing you've ever heard. Now there's many more performing people that really blast it off, but in the old days it was just, oh say can you see by John's, and then oh Canada, home and native, blah blah blah. And then this guy comes in and just belts it, and you're like, and gets the chills on you. You're like, whoa,
Yeah.
The Tom and Pedro band. All right, Pedro, I finally got Bitcoin up here. We've been rambling on too long. Let's go. Everyone wants to know what's going on with Bitcoin. And then, of course, for the later part of the show, what's all the economic indicators in the world going to tell us what Bitcoin is going to do? That's just a nice, good, wide open statement there, isn't it?
I like that. It's actually really good. So, go ahead. Do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to?
No, go ahead.
What would you like?
I got the Bitcoin graph up. We're at 110,239.
So perfect. So let's go ahead and talk about over the week what we've seen so far. So Bitcoin is sitting at like that 8-period moving average, and we're kind of playing off of this weekly area right here. You can see that we've got 2 big wicks sitting out in these levels here for the previous week, and we're finishing up for the month. So this is the last week of the month. We've had a pretty gangbanging
apparently we've had a porn week.
You're talking about gang. I didn't say. Oh, I did say gangbang. And what's a gangbang? No, what's the thing that's like?
We'll just call it was a banging week.
It was a banging week. Excuse me, a banging month. Look at this. I mean, we literally, from the sell-off of the low from last month, from 75,000 all the way up, literally to the high of 111,000 Bitcoin. It's been a pretty big week. It's almost 40%, if not push up so far. These are big movements. So because of that, I would expect to see this week being kind of either a consolidation week or a small sell-off, taking profit from this month and last month, huge growth. And so I would expect to see it kind of come down. I thought we were going to come and go higher and hit that 115, 120,000 before we saw the sell-off. But I would expect to see some form of profit taking here. So that's what I'm kind of looking for. We are seeing kind of an increase in volume over the previous last week and into this week, as you can see from last Sunday all the way into today. So I'm kind of expecting to see some form of a sell-off, potentially maybe a 106 area, kind of like what we saw on Monday. But again, this is more profit taking. This is not a bearish movement. I'm just simply saying, okay. So I brought this up on Monday, kind of quick profit taking You know, kind of like how you saw, right? Bad news come out about Bitcoin, you see the sell-off, right? Kind of like when we talked about the bonds, how the bonds had really bad news, but really, if you go and you look at the bonds now, they're up. If you look at the yields, similar situation. And so these things are what they use to be able to bring in liquidity so they can actually go and take the opposite side of the market and basically play you. So I always tell everybody, don't get suckered in. Go through, look at the actual chart, like, you know, S&P 500 or the S&P, the Dow, S&P Dow area. Forgive me for that. Come on. And there we are.
Good morning, Chumbalones. Carmen Crypto in the house. Thanks for joining us all the way from Las Vegas. Getting ready for the Bitcoin Vegas conference there. Wish we were going, Pedro, but Carmen will have to be our reporter on the scene for that.
Yeah, it would actually, if we can get her to, while she's going around talking to people, bring people in, see if we can bring them on the show. It'd be cool. Just putting that out there, kind of trying to plug us there. If you want to do that, that'd be dopey dope, like super dope, Carmen, but no pressure.
Carmen plugging her employer. Check out who's on the front page of OpenSea. Whitelist Mint is live for the On-Chain Foundation. Must cost you a pretty penny to get on the homepage of OpenSea. But good job, Carmen, with the business development and partnering skills there.
She's got skills to pay the bills. What's up?
He's already had a manicure with the BTC baddies.
The baddies. There's such thing as a BTC baddie. I like it. I like it a lot. Yes. Are the baddies like a bunch of dudes who can trade really well?
In Vegas, it's probably the crack whores from the off strip casinos. Sorry, Carmen, I had to do that.
Ouch. Well, so one of the things I want to bring up here is just that as the market is moving, actually, I'm going to type this out here. As the market is moving, let's see.
While Pedro's doing that, thank you to everybody watching us on Rumble, YouTube, Twitch, and X. We've got a good crowd out there today. And I got to tell you, our Rumble crowd has been stepping up. The other day, our Monday show had 243 views. It's one of our best ever on Rumble outside the election edition. Thank you very much to everyone. I think Pedro. I think let's see, let me find it here. Let's see if I can be seamless about this. Our new thumbnails are working.
Yeah, we've been playing with them, and they
had to try out some new things to try and rise to the top and grab some eyeballs, and you know how you can tell the thumbnail is working, Pedro?
How?
You get more views, but they're shorter views, and that's exactly what's happening.
Well, we'll take them.
We'll take it. We got to try some things to get the algorithm kicking us. And so I don't have any idea why people would like this thumbnail, especially half the population of the world, and you know, a small population of the other half too. I'm sure likes this thumbnail.
I say more curves, like more cowbell, more curves.
I've got some, like I said the other day, I've got some of those, but I had the thumbnails already made up. But I've got some more junk in the trunk ones to get that group of people too.
More curves. It sounds so crazy.
Carmen says, women in Web3 group. Oh, yeah, of course. I know who they are. I've heard of them.
Oh, absolutely.
Including the growth team from ICP, Pedro. There you go. There's your favorite.
Oh, shoot. Hey, Carmen, connect me with some people with the ICP group. I so want to kind of talk. I would love to have them come on the show.
Yeah, we need to have the ICP people on the show. We talk about them a lot. If you got a contact for us, Carmen, we would appreciate it. Carmen says she's rolling out the red carpet for my blockchain fam coming to town. That's got to be a 10,000 person party. You're gonna need to rent out the hockey arena just for your group of people there, Carmen.
Definitely, but they're also really dope. I mean, come, go have fun. But we miss you. You're loved, Carmen, and I'm just saying.
Vincent live from Nigeria. Always a great show, and he's also hitting up Moon Girl token. All right, a bunch of Moon Girl tokens there. To the moon. Send the girls to the moon. Especially your ex-wives.
To the sun. to the heat. Anyways, okay, so I've been playing around. Let's talk about Bitcoin real. All right, so we're pushing up here for this hour here. We're starting to see, let's see if we can get a big move up. We saw it come down into, we created the wick, and let's finish this up here real quick. We put the wick in on Saturday or on Sunday and Monday. You can see right here, we've got a good wick too. So it's not ginormous, but it's a decent enough to where we can see it come up. I want you guys to be ready for this movement here. So you could take a portion of this. Remember, we always talk about this, right? Above here, there are a bunch of stops where shorts are sellers, right? And this is going to be that 111,880 area, okay? And so, or whatever device you use, just make sure you get the high here. And then this is a potential play where a lot of our people can play here, okay? And what we look for is something kind of similar to this right here, right? Like this was the high. We saw it come up, pop, and then sell off, right? This was that previous high. We saw it come down, and then boom, we saw it go back up here. And so that little area is a potential area you can play.
Scotty with the moon girl and
so
the
that's
wing.
what I want you guys to kind of pay attention to here, is we want to see something similar in this area where we can take a play, put a little pocket change in your stuff. Again, this is not financial advice. This is for education, entertainment purposes only. But the biggest thing is this is I want you guys to put some money in your pocket here. Or this is something that I'm looking to do. Whereas I can come in, and this is kind of like what I want to see. I want to see it come up big green candles, as you can see right here. And I don't want to see any buyer wicks. I want to see basically a lack of buyer wicks as it's moving up. So it'd be easier for it to come down. All right. I also want to see it kind of, I want to see price pull away from my moving averages, hence basically communicating, or whatever trending mechanism that you use, you want to see price extend further away from the moving averages and then come back, right? And that's what we're really looking to do. We want to see some big candles. We see them kind of put a pause with some seller wicks, and then you see kind of see the sell off here. Right, and so this is kind of what we're looking potentially if we get above the high here of the 111,880 area, as if we start to push above this area, and then we want to see kind of a sell-off and then potentially push back up. But it's going to be a quick trade. You're looking for a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1. You're not looking for a 10 or 20-to-1, right? But again, you want to see a slowdown in volume as you're pushing up. So if we're pushing up with big green volume with big green candles, hesitate. You want to chill out a little. But if you're seeing a push up with a drop in volume, kind of like what you see here, right? Where you see the average amount of volume kind of come in, but then we see a big push of volume here, come back up, and you see the drop. It's a similar situation right here. This is at the open. You see from 905 to 915, a big push up, right? But it's not necessarily opening volume. And then as soon as the open comes in, we see the sell-off come in from 930. We come back, retest, and then just sell off. And so that's kind of like what we're looking for when we come up and we tap this area right here. Now next, what's an interesting thing, and this is how I'm looking to see what we're going to see with our monthly chart here. All right, the monthly chart is going to be one of those things. Again, we're coming towards the end of this month, so you should see some profit taking. And the majority of the time, what they'll do is they'll try to extend as far as they can until they can actually get a sell-off on it. And so that's why I'm saying I think they'll push it higher into that 115, 120 area before they see a sell-off. So kind of see kind of a big move today on up, but we should see as it's going up with a lowering of volume for the actual turnaround for them to take profit towards the end of this week. So whether that's going to be a Thursday, Friday sell-off or a Friday, Saturday sell-off, it's just kind of be ready for that type of movement. And it's kind of a classic movement. You can see here, these are the months. So look, boom, pops up, sells off. See how here it went all the way up, then sold off, right? Hit these resistance levels right here. Here, it's similar thing, pops up towards the end of the month, it sells off. this one here, first part of the month, and then it sells up. You can see here it hits the moving average, right? And then they buy back because they were short. Similar situation. So that's kind of like what I'm looking for, to see how far are they going to sell this off towards the end of the month. And so I think this will probably come up, tap up here, and we'll see a big wick kind of come down. And the next month, we should see it go down first. And I think the areas that I'm looking for as a pullback area is potentially coming down to, again, potentially 97,000 to create that bottom wick here for that monthly wick, right? That's what we're looking for. That's going to be that 97,000 area right here, potentially, or more like right here. We'll say 100,000 to 97,000 area is what I'm looking at. See, we're going to tap this. And if you look at that weekly, we also are tapping into that weekly 98,000 8-period moving average as we come down to go back up. So that's kind of the furthest I think we'll go for the month. And then after that, we should see Bitcoin. I feel like we're going to be hitting that 120, 115,000 area consistent, kind of like how we saw this right here. We saw it come up, or excuse me, right here, we saw them test, right? Boom. And we saw a push where we saw the extension from the 60 to the 100,000. And we saw the sell-off come in, and boom. So it's this type of thing. This is going to be the next leg up for this month over the next couple of weeks. And I think we should hit by the end of this, in the next month, like that 120, 115, 120,000, and potentially even that 130,000. Fingers crossed for all of our bags. So let's go.
So Pedro, in the monthly look at it, you're looking at eventually it getting to 130. But as you always say, it's got to come down to go up. It's got to create that wick at the bottom of the candle. So you're saying it's likely to come down to 97, somewhere around that area, before making the turn in next month hitting 130.
Yep. And also, I'm going to be paying attention to this 8-period moving average, because we probably will see this thing start to trail even higher. So the next month, as we put the next week in, right, we'll probably close around, like I said, potentially going up to that 115 and then a sell-off. So when that happens, we should then see the moving average here right now, that 190, it's 98, 97,000 based on whatever USD or BTC contract you're looking at, but this is where it's ranging. So that's why I think we're going to come down to tap that. Now it's all based off of that weekly 8-period moving average. You can see here we've been kind of following it, and so I think they'll probably come and tap it and then get orders here to push it back up. So it's one of those things that I'm definitely looking for, and it's going to be just a simple, like, little process of the market kind of come down to go back up.
For those of you watching on our various social media platforms, if you have any questions about Bitcoin, now's the time to ask, because Pedro's going over it. Drop us a comment. Feel free to do that. If you're on Rumble watching us and you can't comment because you're watching on your big screen or something like that, and I know you're holding your phone. I know you are. Go to YouTube. Fire up the old YouTube. Search DYOR Media. We'll come up. And then I'm sure you have a YouTube or a Gmail or a Google account of some sort, and you can drop a comment there as well.
Or you can just create a small profile in Rumble. And
we can't ever get them to do that.
But you don't know.
It's
what,
like pulling teeth.
It's still, you know what? It's still pulling teeth to get them to go to 130. But you know what? We're at 130. So we just keep asking. We keep doing it. I believe in people. Tom here. Come on. Believe in the people.
All right, I'm going to run this one. We need to hit 200 to enter Rumble's creator program. I don't have that typed correctly. We just need to stream more and have more hours of watching. So that's what we need. But we do need to move from 130 to 200 so we can increase our followers on Rumble, because that's a big measure of success for them. And the more people you have following you and the more viewers you have, we need at least 33 people to watch the show at one time. You know why, Pedro?
What?
So we can read those campaign ads in the middle of it. All of a sudden we can just start pitching Tide laundry soap. And when you have that stain that won't go away, use Tide laundry soap. Go to www.tidelaundrysoap.com to blah, 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 blah. That's what Rumble lets you do. And you get money for that. Mikester in the house. Rumble is the only way to go. YouTube sucks. sorry, YouTube, but because of the way you downrate things and all that type of stuff, I agree with that. Scotty X in the house. Thanks for joining us, Scotty. BTC is the daddy of them all. In every way you could possibly think of daddy, all of them, including those you don't want to think about. Bitcoin is the daddy of them all. There's no doubt about it. The Bitcoin dominance, while it varies a little bit from here and there, and people say, oh, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's still way up. It's still dominant. Mm-hmm. Much like the US dollar, it's just dominant. It is because it is.
Well, it also depends on, because it's what we needed to actually, it was the first real worldwide currency that was able to be used for individual other countries. I'm getting a little too detailed there, but let's just go ahead and say it's the euro dollar system. All right, so let's jump into what is today? Technical Tuesday, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I was just adjusting my camera here, and I needed more of a tan here. I was looking a little pathetic there for a minute here. But ladies and gentlemen, as always here on Tuesday, come on. Sorry, behind. It's Technical Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. What does that mean? It means this. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's Technical Tuesday, in which we go over the economic indicators from around the world that affect your day trading and affect the value of your bags, from crude oil to bonds to the interest rates, all that type of stuff, and may bore you to tears. But as soon as you realize that these numbers help fatten your bags, you will turn around and say, Pedro, feed me the goods. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what the media is not telling me. I want to be able to do my own research, learn about these markets, and know that when copper is down, I need to FOMO into it big time and buy some copper bags and sell it when it's high and make fat stacks of cash.
Fat stacks of cash.
I got the energy level up today.
I can see it, man.
Earlier I did my push-ups, got the blood flowing, went and saw the king.
I love it. We're definitely going to go check out M Girl here. If you could do us a favor, Scotty X, real quick. If you go down into the comment section, we actually have a way where you can join our community, and in that you can send Tom a contract on the whatever.
Arcade, Ken. Arcade, if you're listening, drop us the M Girl and whatever contracts in the TG.
It was Wing and M Girl. So, and we'll definitely check out Fire Chicken here. I know you guys have been on fire, so we'll definitely, I haven't looked at you guys in about a week, but it's been legit. You guys are moving on up
to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. Moving on up.
All right, so let's jump in here real quick. You guys can see here, we're actually hitting a peak here with the, this is a world. It takes all the top or all the stocks in the world, pretty much that are like legit, and it brings them into one giant connection for you, or one giant conglomeration, kind of like the S&P 500. And so you can see this here, and you can see we're near the all-time high here with shares around the world. And you can see here that it's, and I'm bringing this up because for me, like as we're moving up, you can see here we had a giant amount of volume. Huge amount of volume come in from this low here to push it up. And these are tracked, and this is volume throughout the whole entire world. So it's kind of cool to sit there and see. And you can see back here, back in 2020, when we saw this huge push up that got this one leg up and running, you can see that the volume is right here. But if you look, that is about a half. There 200% of volume came in at this low here. And so I'm looking to see, and I'm going to talk about this a little. I forgot to reach out to Chris to ask him, look, what's up?
I'm confused what you have on the screen right now.
This is called the URTH, and I forget there's an actual...
let's just say, what is it a measure of?
It is, I already just said that. I said it's a measure of all the stocks in the world.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. So this is all a measure of all the stocks in the world and what's actually happening for everybody. So you can see here that we're seeing a big push, and with a restructuring of what Trump is trying to do with America, I think this is going to have a big play. America, if you look at the global market cap of stocks around the world, this is actually about $280 trillion. Let me make sure. I just want to make sure that
that's a big fat number.
Market. It's either 260 trillion or 280 trillion. Market cap. What's up? What happened? You said weird. That's not good when you say that.
No, I'm looking for the this.
You using the whole fist doc?
Sure.
Oh, I didn't have your audio on. That was Chuck Jansen in the house, ladies and gentlemen. And we had the old, I'll play it back so Pedro can hear it.
You using the whole fist doc?
That's right.
What's up, Doc? How you doing? It's good to see you, man.
Dr. Chuck Jansen in the house. Thank you very much.
Always,
really appreciate you joining us. We're going to be talking Fire Chicken in a little bit. Mr. Bitcell in here, and Finian Jim. Thanks for joining us.
What's up, Finny? It's good to have you, brother. Bitcell. That's what I like. That. I like how you spelled that. I love it. I love it. Let's go, guys. Guys, do us a quick favor. Please hit that like and share button. Please share it and then go in and click on that share as an incognito, so that it can really tell the algorithms, hey, these guys are really and then they use it to push it to other people, and then we get new people to join our community and connect with, and then they bring their skill set, and we have a grand old time. So let's jump in here real quick, because I really want to get into this stuff, and then from there we can jump on this. We can hit it up, but I really want to jump into this stuff so you guys can see, because I've kind of planned some cool stuff here. So from a market cap, let me type in market cap here then. Market cap.
That's right, Arcade. Everybody should subscribe, like, and share.
Cap. Who is it? Stocks. Oh, market cap. See, no. Funds. Why can't you buy shares?
Everybody, while Pedro is finding the chart he's looking for, remember to like and subscribe. Our show here depends on viewers like you liking, and not only that, but sharing it. Other than super chats and Rumble rants, giving us your hard-earned cash. What really helps is sharing this, and that lets the algorithm know that something's worthwhile here that you're doing. Even if you have to share it with yourself, the YouTube link is an active link, meaning you can't just copy it anymore. You got to copy it and actually share it and have someone click the link. So if you could do that on an incognito browser, that would help. Same with the link on Rumble. Wow, look at that.
Here we go, entire world. Let's see if this will give it to me. Oh, thank you. Who gave us the? Is this a rant or is this a?
Chuck Jansen with the super chat donation. These help with the algorithm as well. Go Fire Chicken. Thanks, Chuck Jansen, for your prolific donations. As always, every donation goes to help out the cause here on DYOR Live. One of the best things that the algorithm can know is that the money in your pocket is going into my pocket. And that tells the algorithm that the viewers like us and they really appreciate and value the advice given here. Either that or they're just plainly entertained. Well, thank you very much, Chuck. We really appreciate.
Had all this stuff planned. Why isn't it?
I gotta tell you, I'm pretty funny today. You know why? I'm monitoring the Rumble feed in the studio monitor here, and it's about 20 seconds behind. So it's not a problem with hearing yourself when it's that far behind. You can listen to yourself all day, and I get to hear my own jokes. And you know what? I'm a weird guy because I laugh at my own jokes.
We both laugh at our own jokes.
I'm listening to myself.
I've
I'm like,
noticed that.
Hey, that was pretty funny. I'm like that was pretty
Absolutely. Good. You know what's funny is Like, I love it when we start to have our own little like, even we have our own show, but when me and you start to crack each other up, I mean, like, I in all honesty, I would hang out with Tom. Like, if I lived near Tom, I'd be like, hey, what are you doing today? And he'd be like, none. I was like, let's go do something. And you'd grab me Striking, and we just go do something. Like, I feel like there's that type of relationship, right? Definitely where we would go out. And so when we start to have like this like connection where we start to crack each other up, I feel like it's like the Tom and Pedro show. And it is, but it's almost like everybody gets to get brought into it. So I like it. So I don't know why this thing is being a pain in the arse, because I should be able to sit there and pull up the market cap here for this, which is basically $2 trillion. The reason why I want to bring that up is right now the US market cap, it's sitting roughly around, we're about 25% to 30% of the world's market cap. Okay. And so this idea that America is starting to really we're starting to see some big movements kind of coming into the S&P 500. And I'm expecting this to come and play around a sell-off area. All right, this thing is just going to be a pain, so. And you just wanted, what did I do here? Come on. So frustrated. I don't understand why it's not allowing me to do it. Either way, you can see here that the S&P ES futures we're coming up to the all-time high here quickly. And you can see here that we're seeing kind of volume drop off as we're coming near here. But we are kind of chilling out here over the last couple of weeks. And so this movement here it's actually kind of a good thing. I expect us to kind of push up and get up to that 6,100 again, potentially. Now, at this point, once it reaches here, all bets are off to the upside right now, because I want to see how we react to the all-time high here. So for me, when I'm looking at this, I want to see it from a monthly basis and see what's going to happen. Again, we've had a gangbuster of a, there you go, gangbuster of
another
a month.
Gangbanging of a show.
Yeah, another gangbuster.
Wisdom A, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Let us know, Wisdom, how you found us. Whether it was YouTube algorithm, whether it's the Infineon crew, whether it's the Fire Chicken crew, whether it's the Moon Girl crew, whether it's the Wing crew, what other groups we're shilling today. But Wisdom A, let us know how you found us. Really appreciate it.
Definitely. Good to have you, Wisdom A. So you can see here that we definitely again had another gang busting of a month, and we're definitely seeing a bit of a kind of a sell-off here towards the top here. But again, I think we're going to see some major movement up as we really start to progress here. And as that starts to happen, as we see, I think we'll come and hit the all-time high. And again, that play is going to be from 59, 25-ish area to that 6166 area. And so it's one of those things that I'm definitely looking at. Expect a bit of a sell-off at the beginning of the month for us coming up. So what I would expect to see is come down into that weekly zone area, right? And potentially come and tap this monthly zone. So we could have two movements that could potentially happen. One is we close above the 8-period moving average and then come back and test it. That test area here is going to be that 865 area to come and test on the S&P, and then see kind of flounder there for a minute, find some buyers, and then push up to the highs here of that 661 area potentially into next month. So kind of get prepared for that. If we do not close below the 8-period moving average, then I expect it to kind of push through and then come back and test it again. So when it gets to that, we'll see. But this is what I'm expecting for next month into the summertime. Alrighty then. Let's check out then the next one.
Quickly, Carmen comments, what happens on chain stays on chain is her motto for the week. Like that, she's referring to the Bitcoin Vegas event. So usually, as we all know, what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. But Carmen is telling us what stays on chain, what happens on chain stays on chain, which is the truth, because blockchains traditionally are immutable until 51% of the people say it's not immutable. Then we won't talk about that, though.
We have a hard time getting 51% of people to vote for a president. So,
and there's only two candidates.
There's only two candidates. Exactly. The next impossible. So with that said, let's check out the Russell 2000. Russell 2000, we've seen it actually kind of come up, which is the RTY. RTY is having a good amount of volume kind of coming in here for the sell-off. And we're kind of seeing it kind of stagnate here. So that Russell 2000, I would expect to see some type of movement kind of come back into this area here. And you can see, why isn't this not showing? It should have shown. I don't know why you're not. Come on. All right, for whatever reason, I did something and it's messing it up. But we're coming up tapping this 8-period moving average on that monthly. But we've seen about half the volume that we saw kind of come in. So expect small caps to kind of flounder here. We saw a big resurgence of money coming into them towards the beginning of the month and the beginning of last month. So it was really important for us to be able to sit there and see what was happening here. On the back end, if you're looking at some stocks that were maybe small cap stocks that are on the Russell 2000, kind of wait for a sell-off. Again, I think we might see a sell-off on the Russell as we kind of see kind of more money again going into big tech. We saw a huge sell-off, but we've definitely seen money come back into a lot of these plays. Now, again, it all depends on how we're going to play the peak when we come up into the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. But I'm gauging to see if the Russell starts to really sell off as we're peaking up into the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. Then I'm going to expect to see a sell-off then come in from the highs. But again, we'll see what happens towards the end of next month. But I do expect us to kind of come and tap the all-time high there. NASDAQ, let's go ahead and pull this up. Why do we talk about the NASDAQ, sir? Oh, did he leave me?
Oh, sorry. No, I'm here. I was just doing some behind-the-scenes things.
Oh, and we got, I see Chris now. What's up, brother? Anyways, all right, cool. Okay, so let's jump here real quick. The NASDAQ is showing some major strength here. We've come up and tapped our area here, the smaller time area here. This was a 4-hour zone that we were talking about. Hopefully you guys took that trade here, and I forgot to bring that up. I was actually going to bring that up a couple days ago, or not a couple days ago, back here last week, but I just forgot, and that was my bad. But you can see we saw the sell-off come in. Now it's come back and retesting that zone. So ultimately, I'm waiting for it to come in with some good volume as we, again, come and tap the 22,000 area. The biggest key, again, here is to see that volume kind of peak up. I want to see volume kind of peak up here towards the end of this month. We're kind of slowing down here on that volume. If we can see it over the next week really pick up here, that would be more of a good indication of saying that we're going to really bust through the end of the S&P, or for the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. But we'll see what happens here into next month. Again, expect the NASDAQ to do something similar where we see it come back down into that 20,000 potentially, and then push it back up, and or potentially see it kind of go up first, then come down. So we're going to see what's going to happen there. But I am expecting it to next month open up and then come down to go back up. So we put that seller wick in. This is the daily chart, and let's look at the weekly chart, or the weekly and monthly chart, which is pretty simple. You can see as we tapping up here, coming back down to that 20,000 area that I talked about here on the monthly. And then on that weekly, similar area here. So I think we're going to definitely test that area before we see it continue up to the all-time highs. Next, let's check out. Actually, let me go ahead. Let's bring on.
No. Keep doing your thing.
All right.
I got that worked in the background.
All right, cool, perfect. All right, so we can see the reason why. And while he's doing that, talk to him about the India thing. Just let him know. I should have had that done, but I forgot to reach out to him yesterday. So let's check out the bonds here and what's actually happening here within the bonds. So we've talked about, it was last week where we had this big hoopla on bonds, and we had the downgrade from the S&P crew to sit there and say, Moody's, to basically say, hey, America's we're downgrading them. But and I brought this up last week where I said if that was that big of a deal, where we had the huge pump of the interest rates, as well as a similar situation within the bonds, then why didn't they mention it under Biden? And why didn't they mention it under as he was leaving office as well? And the reason why I bring that up here is because you can see here, look how low we were, right? Back in January. Look at this low here, okay? And it wasn't that far off. And back here during last year, we actually had a downgrade from Moody's with America's debt. But yet that wasn't exaggerated like we saw last week with, oh no, they downgraded America's debt. And oh no, we had a huge sell-off in interest rates and a huge sell-off, or excuse me, huge buy-up of interest rates and a huge sell-off in the bonds. And the reason why they don't is because they want to scare you to do the opposite, right? And so you can sit there and see from last week alone, we had the sell-off where we took out, and I want to bring this up here real quick. Here's the low from this year. We saw a huge push up on a weekly chart and then a sell-off here. This was the whole entire tariff scare and everything that came along with that from last month. And you can see here, as we came here, we hit an area where there would be stops, right? So what happens? Like, you know, we always talk about when we come into an area of where there's going to be stop, expect the opposite. So with these amount of sellers here, right, meaning people are shorting and they're going to hit the stop, right? So if you're shorting, there's buys there, right? And so what do we see? We see the buyers being absorbed by the sellers, right? Which you see a sell-off come in, and then you see a rebound. So with this said, I'm looking at the 30-year treasury bonds really to be kind of coming back up to test that 8-period moving average, which is going to be basically the 114.01-ish area, right? And then the area that I'm really kind of playing off for you guys for the monthlies, we should come and test this area of that 116.12 area is what I'm really looking. And so this is going to, I'm going to put up this zone here for everybody to play. And then mark this down for you guys. I'm definitely looking to play this zone here. To see kind of pull back and then go back up again. So let's go to play this here real quick. Make this into a monthly zone. Boom.
Chuck Jansen with the comment of the day. Wing is going to make the fire chicken drink a spicy cocktail. Boo, 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 wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah. All right, guys, so you can see here we're seeing a kind of sell-off. My biggest thing is this, is that we are putting in low, higher low, and a lower low. So this area here is one of those things that I'm basically kind of waiting and seeing if are we going to continue back up to that 121 area for this. And so it's going to be kind of a wait and see as we come into this trade. But we've got that short area here as we start to come back up. The other part I am looking at for the bonds here is when we look at this daily, there you go. When you look at that daily run, that can be a pretty big run from that 112 to that 116 area. That's about per contract, I think. Come on, Brian. A couple $1,000s per contract. So if you're looking to trade this, it'd be one of those things that you want to just be smart with. Make sure you get a close stop just at the start of it, but once it gets going, we should see it pull back up into at least the 115 to get up to that 116 area. Now let's check out the 10-year here. The 10-year here area is pretty cool. You can see we've been playing in this area we've talked about, which is that 116, 107 area, and with the 10-year, which is really kind of the bellwether of the bonds, that they use it to really kind of gauge what's actually happening kind of with the bond market. You can see here that we've actually been putting in a low, higher low again, and potentially we're going to see another higher low again as we come down. High, and I think the next higher high is going to be that 116 area. So that's why I'm more bullish towards the end of the month here, because of the 10-year bonds and how it's moving. So that's why I do expect it. You can see here as well is that we are seeing an increase of volume come in right here towards the end of the month, right? And this is them basically telling us, hey, we want to take this higher. We're buying. We use the bad news of them downgrading our debt to see the institutions coming and buy so that they can get the lemmings to sell off so they can take the other side. So it's important to understand that market structure as we're looking. And when I mean market structure, I mean what the institutions are doing to get people to either come into the market or leave the market. So it's one of those things I'm looking at. You can see here, like this, you can see right here at this level here, we're seeing a similar situation, right? And we saw the rally up, boom. And so it's a similar situation here, down in here, boom, rally up, right? Again, well, not necessarily right here, but again, a similar situation right here. And I expect another rally up into this level here of that 121 area. Let's check out, and then the reason why I'm pointing this out is let's check out the 10-year yield and how the 10-year yield here plays here. So they were saying how the yield is going up, which it is, but mind you, like that was this day right here. That was that Friday, Thursday, as we were like, oh my goodness, look, the yield is shooting up. Oh no. And then they talked about around the world, everything shot up when it came to interest rates. But again, this is that rope-a-dope I'm always preaching to you guys, right? If something comes out in the news, have a wide view of what are they trying to get me to do? And should I do the opposite? Right? And you can see here, and Tom, how many times do I scream that, right? Like, hey, if they want to push it up, they're going to push it down first. And you can see here, we've had some major sell-offs. So we literally saw the 10-year yield go up, peak on Thursday, which was Wednesday, they had the news. Thursday, they open up, they gap up, put the seller wick in, and then sell it
and
off.
then dump it on everyone that FOMO'd into it. Which we would call the junior level traders on Wall Street. They got foiled again, and they're going to end up with no $1 million Christmas bonus this year because they got tricked by the seller wick. And the big shots on the street took your money, just like in crypto. When the whales take your money on Wall Street, they do too.
Yeah, so you can see here, and again, this play here, it came down. Where is it going to come down to? I think we're going to see it come down to that 4.3 area, the 4.33, and potentially come back and tap this low level here. So let's check out the monthly here. Oh, we also have the 3-month period too. We'll go over that next week for the 3-month and what I expect the quarter wick to do.
That makes a good transition here because I want to transition to the second part of the show and bring on our somewhat co-host and all the time special guest.
Awesome. Did you want me to do it? Or
no, I think you were finishing something else up first.
Oh, yeah, I'm finishing up. Yeah, I apologize. All right, so you can see here that on this monthly chart here, I expect you can see that they're selling it off on the wick of that month. And we're going to see it probably come back down, like I said, to that 4.33 area here to tap that 8 period. If we see this close below the 8 period moving average here, expect to kind of even see yields come back even further down to the next portion of that 384 area percentage wise and kind of tap these lows to see it potentially go back up higher.
The final frontier.
What up?
Welcome Space Cat to the house. Hasn't seen you in a while. Good day, everyone. He's at the gym. Didn't get up in enough time to see the show from the beginning, so go back and listen to what I missed later.
Definitely. Well, thanks. Make sure you're asking questions too, brother. You know I'm always open. Similar situation that we're seeing with the monthly chart on the 20-year as well as the 30-year. So we hit our area on the 30-year. My Lord, my neighbor is doing reconstructing. Can you guys hear that?
I thought I was getting some kind of weird feedback here. But
no,
I hear
that thing is, it's like wrecking. I've got the window or I've got the door open. I'll finish this off, and then while you bring on Chris, I'll come back in. So you can see here, we hit our area on the 30-year yield, and you can see that we had a pretty good sell-off here on this. We hit it on Thursday. Again, this was the day that yields were, or I think Wednesday was the day that yields were screaming up and the world was falling apart. And now you can see it's coming back down. And so this 30-year, we hit the supply area. And then from here, I'm expecting it to come and tap that 100, 200 period, which is going to be the 4.75 area to kind of find some balance. And then after that, we'll reassess and see what's going on. But that's pretty much it. Let me give everything over to you and I'll be back in a second.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Pedro will be back in just a minute. But on that time, how many of you have heard of the Crypto as Swamp Creatures? That's right. Crypto Swamp Creatures is a podcast that DYOR is lucky enough to host between two of Washington, D.C.'s top talking heads. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, right here on our show. Christopher Alexander and Justin Wallin do the Crypto Swamp Creatures show. In which you see a lot of their episodes every time you turn on your feed, because there are lots of episodes, lots of shorts, all that type of stuff out there. But I thought I was going to have this easy to come up here, but let's just give it the. I thought Pedro was going to be with. Oh, there he is. So we'll bring up Chris here. What's happening, Chris? Oh, you're on. I forgot to unmute you. Sorry. But now you have to unmute yourself too, on the studio screen.
I refuse to participate in this.
I believe the fifth.
I'm in disguise after the lizard attempt on my life. I'm dressed like this.
For those of you that are not in the inside joke, Chris had as we know, he has had a secretive military career in the past with lots of hubba. Can't talk about that. And he had an assassination attempt on him recently. That's right. While he was in Florida, a giant lizard snuck into his room and tried to take him out.
I believe it was an attack lizard.
Yep.
I was on a bounty list. I think it was ISIS. It was in Iraq. But when I saw how much they were willing to pay for me, I was so insulted. I was like, I couldn't believe, they were really obviously trying to hurt me because they offered so little for me. I mean, it was like a couple of $1,000. I was like, really, like, why even bother to come after me if that's all you're gonna pay?
A couple $1,000. Yeah. Excuse me, I'm getting on a flight.
So I don't know that the lizard was sent to kill me entirely, but yeah, it snuck into the place and it was hanging upside down like it was possessed by a demon. But I had called an Uber and had to go to the airport. It was an Airbnb. I spoke at this, was it Bitcoin, the thing in Naples?
In Naples,
Bitcoin Day. Yeah, so I spoke there. I was on with somebody who actually is famous, unlike me, Charlie Shrem.
That's right.
We were on a panel. So I had to leave, but they had rented an Airbnb. So I called the guy who rented it. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I have to go to the airport, and there's a very large reptile that snuck into the house and went into my room. And so there's a little tech exchange where I'm like, sorry, I have to go now. Because literally I had called the lift. So yeah.
Chuck Jensen wants to know if that's a new crypto or a video game. I think it's going to be both now. I think by the end of this show, it'll be a crypto and Lizard Assassins. And then within a week, it'll be and somebody will use AI to create a video game on the thing too. And it'll just be Chris in Minecraft form running away from the lizard.
Okay. I would think it would be more interesting if it was the lizard coming to kill me and you have to creep in and you have to figure out how to navigate the house. But I mean, what do I know?
All right, hold on a second. I want to pitch a little bit more of the swamp creatures here. Ladies and gentlemen, for you new viewers out there, especially you Infinian crew here, let me get the right screen up here. Preset number 4.
Infinian, is an Irish militants?
No, not those.
You never heard of it.
But anyway, you see on the DYOR Media YouTube page, you see a playlist here of all of the episodes of the Crypto Swamp Creatures. A couple of banger episodes lately, especially I really enjoy the one about Polymarket. And last week. Yes, that was good, talking about how basically gamblers can predict everything. And the Bo Hines episode about Donald Trump's young and unassuming digital advocacy council advisor or whatever, and how he's doing a good job without the usual Trumpiness, as Chris says. And then
so quiet.
And then what's the other episode here? Congress votes on stablecoins. Which bill is going to win, the Stable Act or the Genius Act? Both of them are working their way through Congress. Some good stuff in these Crypto Swamp Creature episodes. I have no idea why these things aren't at 50 million views, because obviously with Chris's general presence here, that's worth 1 million views, and his wit is worth another million, and then their content is at least 48 million, right? Is that enough?
I did get 2 billion impressions on all my media appearances.
Exactly. I mean, I believe.
But that's because we paid the PR firm $20,000 a month to get me appearances. No. If you give someone else $20,000 a month to tell other people you're an expert, they very quickly believe it. Is what I've really learned over the past.
Dude, that's the what's it called? What's her name? Speaker of the House for Congress. Why am I forgetting her name? She's one of the greatest traders.
Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi. Yeah. That she talked about how you could literally make something an expert by having somebody parrot it, and then you talk about it, and then it becomes real news and an expert because it's been.
Well, that was so. The second half of that, after I said it, was part of my employer's legal strategy. Because apparently, since I didn't work directly for their company, they could cite what I was saying in a court case.
There you go.
Oh, totally.
You're serious. You're 100% serious.
I'm totally serious. So I would go on, and it was very funny because one day I'm like, sometimes we get into these regulations, and I'm not like the lawyer. And they said, listen, you go on, and they say, do you like the color orange? Your answer is, well, SEC regulation by enforcement is causing untold problems in the industry, and the question is, you just say regulation by enforcement is bad, and then we're fine. So I did that. Except for once, I was on, I think it was Maria Bartiromo too. But it was like a higher profile one. And they were like, oh, so a lot going on in crypto today. They did not tell me they were going to do this. And they started playing clips for me to react to. And like that, I had just started too. And they were like, so they're like, so Elizabeth Warren says that you're all terrorists. How do you react to that? And I was like, whoa. And then I'm like, well, Elizabeth Warren supports regulation by enforcement, and then I went right back to saying what I was supposed to. But yeah, so
repeat.
But that really is that is the strategy. And apparently, I didn't realize they could say, oh, this expert said it, and the fact was that even as an expert, if it was adjacent to their organization, that didn't actually matter.
See, and this is what's scary, right? Because I think. And I don't want to get on it because I want to keep going on with Technical Tuesday here, but to add in just simple to that this idea that anybody can be an expert.
There's a cat being tortured in Chris's apartment.
No, a cold-blooded, warm-hearted, black blockchain backed. He's well into the Swamp Creatures video game.
There you go.
I can hear it on the feed. It's awesome.
A quick question, man. I'm actually kind of saddened that I don't see the red mist hat. I mean, I was kind of hurt. Like I was kind of. Oh, there it is. There we go. There it is. Yeah.
My wizard hat.
It's not in the. It's not in the frame.
Oh, it's not in the. Oh, on this.
Yeah, I just realized that. Yeah. No, it's not you. It's Tom. Tom, bring in the wizard hat for the. There you go.
Yeah. Harry Potter.
There you go. I love it. Jumping in real quick. Speaking of other.
All right, hold on, Pedro. I'm going to take a quick break and check up on the things that I had to do. I'm going to leave you and Chris at it. I'll still produce the show behind the scenes, but I'll be off mic.
Got you. Alrighty then, my friend. We'll jump right into this. Chris, I kind of wanted to ask you, and I was going to reach out to you yesterday, I just forgot. But I've been looking at India and what that says it. I've been looking at India as a potential really big mover in what we're seeing in the global world when it comes to producing. Obviously, there's a lot of communication happening about trade with India and kind of pulling away from pulling away from China and a lot of their counterparts. And I would expect to see some major corporate entities there, their stock market really kind of get going. And we've been kind of watching that over the last couple months here, where we're seeing it kind of get going here. And they're about $5 trillion market cap right now. Now, if you look at the global, America holds about 40 to 60 trillion dollars of the world market cap when it comes to stock market capitalization, which is about 25%, right? What we're looking at. India, with potentially over the next 20 years, they've done a great job just kind of taking markets and really trying to develop there. Can you see or foresee potentially this really getting going and kind of outproducing China, or do you think it's more of just a posture situation that Trump is trying to do to get China to kind of bend the knee?
Well, so I think for short term, and we're talking years, we're talking kind of macro, right? For India,
yeah.
I think what's interesting is water, AI, and really it's water and AI. And defense, water, AI, and defense. And so, this conflict right now with Pakistan, India is leveraging this Kashmiri conflict to renegotiate the treaty involving Indus and a couple rivers. And I think you could actually see the first legit water war that people talked about 20, 30 years ago for the first time happening. So I think there's a destabilizing factor there, starting from the negatives, working to the positives. On AI, I think, when you look at US-European trade, there's a huge, and this is something that we're going to, I think, talk about Justin Wallin on Crypto Swamp Creatures. Services are a huge part of the trade between the EU and the US.
Yeah.
It's actually, it tips over when you add it on to just regular goods. So you look at trading in goods between the two countries, the EU and the US, it drops down quite a bit on the list. When you add services in, it would make it the number one trading partner. So I think of India, and there's a lot of low-end white-collar computer programming work that goes on in India.
Yeah.
A ton of it. And, AI is replacing that. You can write decent code with AI now. Not because I know that, because, I studied anthropology, but people who know what they're talking about tell me that. So I wonder how India does in the short term when a lot of these app building companies and again, low-end programmers are replaced. Now on defense, kind of pivoting to the positive, something interesting. I think when you were in, it was PACOM, right? US Pacific Command. That's not the name of that command anymore. Do you know what it is now? What PACOM is called?
No.
It's Indo-PACOM.
India. So it's Indo-Pacific?
Indo-PACOM, yes, US, Indo. So they pulled India out and put it in PACOM because India and Pakistan hate each other, and Pakistan stayed in CENTCOM.
Yeah.
But the fact that you are calling it Indo-PACOM tells you the role that India plays in the long term in the strategic view of the United States. They got top billing, if you will.
Got it.
With Vice President Vance, his personal connections to India, the trip he already made to India, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think India has always leveraged somebody else against the United States, whether it was deals with the Soviets, dealing with the Chinese. and I think now it's BRICS. So I think the U.S. play is to isolate India in BRICS. That hurts China. Enhanced defense cooperation. I think that helps. India's really anti-crypto, and so.
But as crypto natives, we sit there. We know we get the majority of our coders from India. They sit there because they'll do it so much cheaper than in. So like you said, it's really interesting to see why they're so negative on crypto.
Yeah, I don't get it. And I'm not I know the air world a lot better than I know the Indian subcontinent. I'm not really sure what that's about. I know taxation is a huge component of it. They're just taxing the living daylights out of it. It would seem like that it's so punitive that it's done to deter people from using it. But again, I don't know. You'd think they'd recognize that if they get into AI, if you get into high performance computing splits into AI or into Bitcoin.
Yep.
And then Bitcoin's a ledger, and now you have, even though it's not high performance computing, you have all of the proof of stake blockchains, and all the work Indians can do on them. So a little bit of a mystery for me with it. I
agree. I share the same sentiment. On the back end, by me looking at what's actually happening here, I do see, because we're looking at the chart here, you can see here we're seeing higher highs and higher lows, and we're seeing an increase in volume of people buying India. Look at this. Over the past few months, you can sit there and there's just this little part, this pullback area, to look at the amount of volume that came in was substantial and comparative to, let's say, previous legs ups. So I'm looking at this going, the next leg up, statistically is going to be 80. By looking at it, right? This thing went from 19 to 40, right? So the next leg, maybe it will have a local top pull back, but I'm looking at this as a play potential where I can sit there and go, look, we've got this area here that is potentially from 54-ish, all the way to 80, if not maybe even a little higher. And that push up is something that I'm looking at going, that's you can take a large trade on this and sit there and look at it. And so I know that you would kind of understand a lot of this, what's actually happening there. And so I just want to bring that up as for our viewers here, that you can actually take part of this trade by buying in on the INDA with iShares, which is an ETF. You go check them out. I have no affiliates to them, but I know it's a way for you to take part in the trade. Again, this is not financial advice and educational and entertainment purposes only, but it's something that I'm looking at. I wanted to share with you guys kind of to see what's actually happening here. And honestly, by me looking at this, I'm looking at all the buyer wicks coming in on the monthly going, it's a nice little play. And if what I'm looking at is really kind of to play an options play on this, where I can take a cover call, excuse me, not a cover call. I can take a call, potentially naked call, but kind of see what's going to happen here. That's kind of what I'm looking to do on this, but you guys can play how you decide you want to play this trade. I
think it'd be interesting. When I'm looking at the chart, the tension with Pakistan isn't really showing up on there.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, right? That dip is prior to the date that any of that actually even occurred.
Yes. Yep.
It looks more like that dip is tied to kind of the AI pullback or something.
That's exactly what it is.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. This has to do more or less with NVIDIA and what happened there and the sell off with the AI. If anything, man, we like that happened. When was it? 3 weeks ago when they bombed, or when
the tension started. Like it was in May.
Yeah, so you can see right here in May, you saw the sell off for 1 week where it pulled back down to a really good demand zone, which was about right here. You saw the gap in, and this was just a perfect way. And I hate to say it, but and I hate saying this because I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I've seen it so many times that it just, I just can't deny it. I mean, look at this perfect zone, a gap up, which means there's an abnormal amount of buyers. We see the sell-off, put the demand wick in for the month, and we saw it skyrocket. You see the pullback into this area, which means like this is atypical institutional play.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think perhaps there's an explanation that doesn't even get into the conspiratorial. You know, Goldman Sachs, any of these big funds, any of these big institutional players, rephrase that because not necessarily it's a fund. They went to school with people who were Indian government officials. They went to school with people who were Pakistani government officials. Probably some idiot child of some senior officials, an intern there. I had an idiot Pakistani kid, just leave it at that, who was completely clueless and now runs like a big investment fund, who like wasn't suitable for like managing a team of 3 analysts for me. So, and you know, they're picking up the phone and they're asking. So the point is this: they're seeing what's happening. They know, okay, there's an India-Pakistan conflict. They know it's not over Kashmir. They know it's over water rights. It's over water rights, and what it means is that they're going to negotiate. They're not going to fight, and so they know to dump their position and buy it back, right? Or just buy when people dump their positions. And so I think they just have the money in hand to move the market in a way that you and I going, oh man, this might be a smart play. You can't. So, you know, I do wonder if that's it. But as long as there's stability, and as long as India is in this advantaged position of having both the U.S. and China courting, I imagine from geopolitically that's great for India. They're going to get both the U.S. and China are predisposed to giving India relatively good deals.
Kind of in that perfect position, right? Because they kind of play between the like third world, first world environment based off where you're at. And I'm trying to understand. You know, I need to do more research on this, but like ultimately, I'm expecting us to come back down into next month. We're going to put in the demand wig, right? That's going to be the seller wig, and so I would expect us to kind of come back down into this level right here, which is basically that 53.65 area to that 53.24 area, which is sitting right here. So ultimately, I can see us coming back down, tapping these areas of liquidity, and then seeing it continue up into kind of the all-time highs into that 59.49 area. So I'm just trying to see how I want to play this, and really based off of like the geopolitical news and potentially what is happening. The water rights is going to be a major issue here. So I'm trying to see what we're going to see in relationship with this. I mean, who was it? The guy who shorted on the Big Short?
Michael
Burr.
Yeah.
He talks about, you know, he got into water rights and water futures.
Yeah.
And I wonder, he's always been a little too early to things, right? But this potentially could definitely be a big play for him. And
well, remember, in 1920s, some early 1900s, the California and Arizona National Guards were mobilized to the border of each state over water rights issues. This is something that's never quite gone. I imagine, by the way, at that point, if I were going to put together like a matrix, just with decision points in it from where you would want to pivot, I think when India and Pakistan sit down to start renegotiating that water treaty, then this hypothesis that these analysts have that India is not actually concerned about Kashmir, but in fact is leveraging the incident, I think is going to be proven true. So I think that's like a point where you should you'll either see a jump because it happens, or you'll see a jump as a consequence of what is negotiated, one way or the other. Like, to me, I think that's going to be a big data point to consider, because it tells you whether the instability over Kashmir is something to be worried about or not. Yeah.
It's really interesting because when you look on the back end of China, on this back end, right, they're the ones who's backing Pakistan, giving them all of their military. And again, I say military goods because I mean it didn't really hold up that well, as we've seen, and so I say this because it's a form of contention where I can see China really kind of stepping in, because if they were to lose the water rights, lose that ability, would this destabilize their Belt and Road Initiative and trying to get things going through that, or is this really more of an ancillary issue for them?
I want to say it's Chittagong. I may be wrong, but I think they're like, it's a deep water port that they're building with the Indians. I'll look it up real quick, but I think it's Chittagong. They're oh, there's nothing wrong with radiated water. It's just like radiated diamonds or gems. They just glow. They're more vivid. No, but so what's funny, China's in a bit of a jam. I think you can't pick a side with India and Pakistan, because then the other side immediately hates you. And China needs both of them. Ironically, right? China wants to move beyond Pakistan into India to project power from an Indian port, but the U.S. is trying to peel India away, and the vice president's wife is an Indian. China's not in a good spot. It's what I find very interesting about all these critiques with Trump. Like, the U.S. has very, very little to lose in most of these negotiations, because the negotiations aren't going to end with one side completely losing. It doesn't work that way. So, and
we've lost for so many years. I mean, just play it on the backside that anything here is a big deal. I mean, even if we get 10, 20, 30%, we're still helping helping America at large, because we basically played just beta in hopes to see a large economy come forth out of this, that would help feed us. And we've given away the farm, and now we're at a point where like any bit of the farm we get back is a huge portion for us.
So I think that while the U.S. is going to lean a little bit on India in the short term, I think India, they're kind of like, India's a lot like France was. I think India's going to become like what France was under de Gaulle, which is they're going to try to march to their own tune. I remember de Gaulle was going to, he was going to claim all of the dollars that France had against the gold standard. We were going off of it. And just, the French love to play kind of spoiler. And so India's going to, I think, continue to do that. But they're being pulled into a U.S. orbit. The U.S. is overall making overtures to them, and I don't think that the Chinese can compare. And I think people have realized it doesn't work. I know a guy who does really big international deals, and he's working, I don't care what I say, with a government, an African government that has a commodity. And if any ship with that commodity gets to China, it will immediately be seized by the Chinese to repay debts.
Oh, wow.
Because it is like the whole debt trap thing that the Chinese run. So very few people now, I think, look at China and say, oh, that's the preferred partner.
Right.
I think instead what they say is, all right, that's leverage, and maybe they'll give me something in the short term. And if you're an individual, they'll absolutely bribe the daylights out of you. So you'll take that. But I think it's very interesting. India's gonna go sort of a third way, but I think the U.S. is gonna be a big part of it.
All right, I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
I'm going to look at the video in here, see if I'm right. Oh, it's in Bangladesh.
I was about to say Bangladesh, but it's all good. Let's and I think people understand that. I mean, I always say you can't know everything, man, and to sit there and be on point on everything is one of those things I think is silly, and I think there needs to be grace given to people, because I mean I study this stuff all day long, and I can't, your brain only holds so much. So I think I know exactly what you were talking about.
I'm looking it up though. China's ports in the Indian Ocean. Interesting. I'm gonna look. So
speaking of China, and I want to let's talk about their chart here. So we've talked about the yuan, the U.S. dollar, and China stock market here. We've talked about it staying within the range of that 32.19 area here, and we've seen it now staying this for almost 2 years. We've been playing here between this for a while, but you can see here now that there's been a huge drop off in volume. People are leaving. They're leaving, and we're seeing it push up, which is a huge indication of China's stock market continuing down, potentially down to the lower levels of that 19 area here. And this is going to be a big portion, because as we start to see business leave China, and Xi Jinping is really trying hard, again, trying to keep that business there. I'm expecting to see, and if you're looking to take this short, you can actually take part in this by playing the PGJ, which is an ETF on China, where you can actually take that short there and play either options, or you can short it however you want to take it. But really what I'm looking here is really a pullback into next month. They're obviously going to take it up, but you can see here, as you can see, we've played off of this 8-period moving average. So as we're coming down, expect a pullback up into the 8-period moving average, which is sitting at about that 28.37 market area. And I think it's like a really nice play to play here. And if you're looking to really kind of take in part in the downfall of their stock market, just throwing that out there. But not financial advice, is educational and entertainment purposes only. Definitely going to get a downvote on YouTube for that one.
You're gonna get a bunch of Chinese bots all over it.
Yeah, I am. We've actually dealt with it quite a bit sometimes, especially when that's why I like to call it more or less like, we got to figure out, we just call it the dragon from now on. Just so that we can keep it general, kind of like with the cerveza sickness, so we can stay away from the algorithms downvoting us, right?
Yeah, but don't make it as obvious, because eventually they'll figure it out. Call it like the hamster. Just something completely random and unrelated. Ski shallow. And then you'll last way longer.
I like that. we're gonna call it the hamster. The hamster.
Yeah, it's not a tiger at this point.
Yeah, I like it. The hamster. All right, guys. So there's that. What are your thoughts on that, man? From a more of a geopolitical standpoint. I know we were just talking about that.
So I think that China is not in an ideal position. I think their heavy-handedness is known more and more. People heard about it, but now countries have experienced it. The debt traps, the strong arming them to have to build things, seizing things that get in China to repay debts. Like I said, I know a whole country that's afraid to send any goods to China right now. Like, official government policies don't do it. So that doesn't help them. The Chinese love real estate, and I don't know how you reconcile the numbers and like those empty cities. Yeah. Like, those empty cities were not built by the government. They were built by government-supported people, but paid for by other people, other Chinese citizens. Bonds. Those aren't government projects.
Corporate bonds.
Yeah, so the government didn't pay for that; the people did, and it's a two caste system in China. You are a party member, and you do really well, and you are not a party member, and you are going to end up in bodies exhibit.
Yeah.
And so my point in that being, I would be concerned about the state of the economy because these projects that are empty and not returning on their investment are party members who put a bunch of their money into stuff. So, you know, and you know, they constantly lie. They constantly try to manipulate. I guess the biggest macroeconomic factor, you know, same person who was talking to me about the debt trap problems this country he's trying to deal with has with their commodity, also said that it's pretty clear in his mind that Trump is devaluing the US dollar intentionally.
Yes, absolutely.
And,
yes. Keep going.
You know, no one's smart, someone who agrees with you, but it looks that way to me. This is someone that I know is more involved in international finance and economics than I am. And I think that's what they're doing. And that is absolutely I think there's two things going on. They're drilling oil to depress the price of oil to hurt Russia, which is what should have happened the minute they went into Ukraine, and then devaluing the dollar to compete against China and further drive up the price of Chinese goods.
So it's been really interesting to bring that up because when I'm looking at like the market at large, right? I think you were on with us when we did the inauguration, right? Do you remember? Were you?
I was right after you.
Okay. So we went over the plays for the year. Like we talked about, I said, this is what I'm looking to play. We talked about bonds, we talked about the S&P 500, seeing it sell off first and see the rebound. I thought we were going to see a much heavier sell off. I was expecting a 50% sell off. I think we got to about 25-30% sell off on some of the major indexes, and some of them were at 20%. The dollar was actually, at that period in time, we saw this happen right here at that 109 area, and I said, all right, guys, and I think this was February, so it was right here. This was the day, January 20th. Yeah, this was the day. We saw the sell-off of the dollar. When he started talking about really going through and drill, baby, drill. We talked about him. We talked about crude oil taking the short. We talked about the dollar dropping. And I said it, and I remember this goes for days. I point people to this video all the time. But I say, up here, I expected to come down to that 109 or the 99 to the 87 area here, based off of what Trump is trying to do from a geopolitical standpoint. He's got to crush the hamster, and the best way to crush the hamster is to literally cause them to play them at their own game. That we have not played it. We have specifically said we're not going to go there. We've seen past administrations, and the whole entire point was to build up the hamster so they could have a democracy to play in conjunction, like we saw with Japan, like we saw with Vietnam. Vietnam played. They played the game, and they're playing nice. And so because of that, we have allowed them to prosper because they become great trading partners and they're taking care of their people. But the problem is they started biting the hand that was feeding them, and they forgot, right? I'm assuming they must have forgot. And so we just said, you want to play that game? Let's play.
Yeah. And for 20 years, China promised to open its markets up and dangled that carrot out and never really did it. I know there's a bunch of U.S. businesses now that have money in China and they can't get the money out. It's stuck in banks that won't transfer outside the U.S. I think the other point that's interesting when you look at just in general from the U.S. perspective, aerospace is a real sticking point between the U.S. and the EU. And I'm not sure if you know this, but so aerospace is like top 3 of U.S. exports. Boeing is really important to the U.S. economy. You're on mute.
I was saying, just say, because you skipped a beat there. You said top 3 aerospace is top 3 of what?
Top 3. So top 3 export industries for export. Aerospace is always in the top 3 for the U.S. Aerospace is incredibly important. So what's been going on with, again, getting into, because you're kind of alluding to the WTO and and some of these other things that the U.S. deals with China on. So the argument, so Airbus is subsidized illegally by the EU. And the US has gone to the WTO, and the WTO keeps siding with the EU. And here's the argument. So the Europeans say that the US, US aviation companies, aerospace companies, have an advantage because of the defense money that the US spends. So they're able to take military advances and apply them to commercial aviation. So they are subsidizing Airbus to compensate Airbus because they don't have the defense spending. But let's just unravel that a little bit. So in other words, the Europeans refuse to have their own Air Force. So we're their Air Force. And when we provide them their Air Force, they damage our commercial aviation industry by saying, oh, that money you spend to be your Air Force and our Air Force gives you an advantage. So literally, we were underwriting Airbus by defending NATO, who wasn't spending up to its treaty obligations, and by having the world's most powerful Air Force.
And
like that,
wait, I just want to jump in. And who paid for it? Like the actual people.
Taxpayers.
Thank you. Like,
US,
you and I.
Yes.
U.S. taxpayers.
American, to be very clear, American taxpayers.
Taxpayers, exactly. And please, I'm pointing out, that's just not for them. That's also for Canada. That's also for many other African nations. And to add on, I want to almost pivot back, and we'll come right back to this. The idea that you have, I think it's 52 nations in Africa, right? That's overall Africa. I believe it was like 50% of them are in debt to China by heavy-handed maneuvers. Yep. And so this is why nobody wants to play business with them over in Europe. So they come to us, but then it's like, so it's this craziness that and then there's some type of spin happening in the media that it's saying we're being dicks, but they're the ones that are, it's like, anyway, so go ahead, please.
Yeah, Europeans they're spoiled 14-year-olds that live in their parents' basement and have everything paid for, and then get upset when they're told they have to clean their room. Yeah, we're their parents. So if you look now back to the Middle East and these trips, every place that Trump goes so far in these presidential trips, what do they announce? They announce an order of aircraft for Boeing. Yeah. So it is very clear that the U.S. is looking to India, looking to the Gulf states, and is giving them preference over Europe, and the U.S. is working to isolate Europe, or weaken Europe, maybe not isolate.
I think weaken it because we don't want to isolate, because if we isolate them, and push comes to shove, if we need a jumping port, right? Because it's say China wants to get too froggy, right? And they partner with just maybe, actually that won't even work, right? Because Saudi Arabia as well as Russia's, there's not sorry, that's silly. Go ahead.
No, actually, here's the funny part. You look at the map, right? We don't need Europe. We can base everything out of the UAE. Yeah. Increasingly, Europe is irrelevant, and the idea that they continue to talk about what a threat Russia is, and they still have NATO countries that won't meet their treaty obligation. And my favorite is watch the video where Trump says, "Stop buying all of your natural gas from Russia. It's a bad idea," when he was president. And you see these European leaders laughing at him. Mm-hmm. This was during his first presidency.
Yeah, I remember.
It's a clown show. And basically, U.S. taxpayers paid to defend Europe so the Europeans could underwrite their social welfare states.
Literally.
And now Europe is in big trouble.
With the Islamic movement that is progressing. I know this is stuff. And this, honestly, you're like, what does this have to do with the dollar? Because the dollar is undermining all of that. And so this is, when you look at the chart here, the chart is undermining what China, what Europe is doing, what I'm not going to go there because again we're going to get in trouble. But keep going.
Say this: this isn't a direct mathematical correlation. There is one. I'm not making it, but every percent that the dollar drops against
other
the yuan, against the euro in particular, I should point out, deflates the effectiveness of a tariff against the U.S. So there is a lot of tariff busting that's going on, or I don't know, economic strengthening for a trade war that is going on. So the U.S. has leverage because the thing that Trump is undeniably is a very shrewd negotiator, and he will take any bit of leverage that he can. There's a story. I mean, they claim it's true. Either way, it's apocryphal. It's believable. But apparently, in his first presidency, Trump gets on with Trudeau and says, "Tell me your worst scenario. Like, what's your nightmare in dealing with the U.S.?" And he said, something probably about oil, or whatever he said. And Trump's like, "Why did you tell me that? Never tell someone like you're." and then proceeded to negotiate against whatever it was. Now,
oh, that's epic.
It's not like the Trump team didn't know Canada's worst nightmare ahead of time, right? Like, so I think there's some.
But he was posturing, though.
Yeah, it was posturing, and B, I mean, it's his thinking, regardless of whether that was a joke, because he knew he was going to do what he was going to do anyway. So there's a great talk from the first presidency from Victor Davis Hanson. He's a classicist in California. He wrote some great books about the Spartans and the Peloponnesian Wars, and he's also a political commentator. But he was being interviewed about.
Name again? Say his name. We'll post it.
Victor Davis Hanson. Cannot recommend him enough. He wrote a book called Carnage and Culture about how the Western way of war is different from the rest of the world and how. And he starts with the Battle of Thermopylae and ends up at Dien Bien Phu and walks through the kind of the anthropology of warfare and how Western warfare is different.
Thank you.
Yeah, and he's a very astute politically. He's rational, but they were talking to him very early on about Trump. And he said, Trump is I'm paraphrasing because part of it I kind of took from what he said, but basically he said, Trump is a TV producer and he knows what people like. And if he can't get 51% of the country behind him on something, he won't do it. People forget that he there was an immigration, border scheme that he wanted to do. And by scheme, I mean, not an illegal thing. I mean, as in a approach. And people got really upset, like they showed up protesting at JFK. Yeah, and a policy. It was actually a policy, and he reversed it. Like, if people don't like it, so what did he do during his first term, right? Nobody cared about a spoiled football player who wanted to kneel during the national anthem. 51% of people were never going to support Colin Kaepernick, so he went after him. And that's part of where I think he gets tagged as a bully, because he only picks winning issues. He doesn't stand on principle. With only a few exceptions. He picks what's going to win. But Victor Davis Hanson said he has an animal cunning. He may not be this really intellectual person, but he has this animal cunning. He knows how to make deals. He knows what people want. And he was really the first person I ever heard say, this is like 17, 18. He said, look at what Trump does, not at what he says. He was one of the first people to say that. And so to that point, Trump is devaluing the dollar. That gives him leverage in a trade war. It's drill, baby, drill, which depresses the price of energy throughout the world, which hurts our adversaries.
Right now. Keep going.
That rely on it. And it just so happens that if you want to get inflation down, every single thing in the U.S. economy uses energy. So if energy is cheaper here, everything goes down. And that hypothesis has proven true over the past few weeks. With this sort of unexpected improvement in economic conditions. So,
and you tee me up perfectly because we're about to go into the yuan, and then from there crude oil, and see what's going to happen with natural gas. Because the fact is that drill baby drill isn't necessarily speaking about crude oil, but it is. But what he's really speaking about is natural gas, right? Which is America's one of its primary exports throughout the world. And if we can throw in to get people to buy our crude oil, hey, nonetheless, right?
So I get what you're saying. What's interesting, so we actually just kind of concluded a deal on the Bitcoin mining firm kind of consulting thing that I do with a power generation company who specializes in natural gas to electricity. And there's a couple of interesting points there. One, Bitcoin miners are going to get forced off the grid. Bitcoin mining strains the grid. Everything strains the grid. But the energy demands, it's a lot harder to tell people, well, you're going to have brownouts now because there's Bitcoin miners. At least with an AI data center, the odds are everyone in an area uses the AI. So Bitcoin's kind of the redheaded stepchild in this case, unfortunately. But it just means that they're going to go off grid behind the meter. So there's plenty of opportunities to do that. That's what this company does. They're seeing it. ERCOT in Texas is charging insane rates, even to oil fields, to use to buy electricity to power equipment on their oil fields. They're all doing natural gas now. But I will say this: the big play that this company was telling me about is, if you mine Bitcoin, you can improve the output of your oil wells. Because you take the natural gas and the brackish water that comes up, you run it through a turbine, you turn to electricity, you evaporate the water on the turbine, but you have steady offtake of the gas until a pipeline can be built, because it takes like 2 years. Well, that means if you can't offtake the gas and the water, you have to shut down the well until someone can come truck it out. Because sometimes you'll have more production than's anticipated. They have to shut down. And so they will. So what you can do is you collect that natural gas on your own, burn it off somewhere. You can't flare it, can't burn it into the atmosphere anymore, virtually at all. You get a minimal amount of time. But point here is you can pump oil consistently all day long. And they would prefer to pump oil above everything else. So I'm not sure about the economics of gas versus oil. Like, oil companies want oil more than they want gas. I'll say that. So I don't think that changes your kind of fundamental hypothesis, because the liquid natural gas, the collected natural gas further downstream is, I think, what you're talking about. But for an oil company, unless oil gets really low, and in which case they just shut the barrel off, believe it or not, on the big oil fields, the gas that comes up is literally a nuisance. It is a literal nuisance because of the finding and the fact they can't do anything with it. Initially, again, we're in drill baby drill exploration mode. So what folks are telling me is they're really split. There's one group that thinks that LNG exports is going to cause the price of gas to go up. And I've met another group of people who are doing this for a living who are saying there's so much drilling going on, and because you can't flare the natural gas, that it's going to depress the price of natural gas.
I was going to say, I think the chart is showing me that we're going down, because look, the institutions, look, you see them already putting in their shorts over the last 5 months. See these big wicks here?
Interesting.
And
yeah.
So I don't, like, again, I look at what's happening in the charts and what's happening with the money. Whether what you say from a fundamental standpoint, I hate to say, I don't care, because like you said with Trump, I don't care what you say. I want what you're doing. And so we talked about this trade here with natural gas. At that time, we were down here, and I said expect potentially natural gas to go up, primarily because one, he is going to flood the market, and I know it sounds interesting, it going up, but he wants it to go up, to go down, to throw off a lot of the other. Anyways, long story short, we saw it go up, but now as we're going up, we're watching a sell-off happen here potentially. And so we see here this drop here for this moment here, or for last month. And so I'm watching this right now, and if we finish this week off, okay, which is going to be the finish off the month with us with another red candle, and we close below that 100, 200-day monthly moving average. This is the 100-day period moving average, the 89, and you have the 200 again here closing below here. We're not able to stay above that. There's not going to be it's just not going to be a trader who's going to go long regarding natural gas. I am expecting it to go down at least to touch that 20 period moving average.
I think I misheard you. I thought you were, by the way, suggesting it would go up. But yeah.
No, it was going to go up in the beginning.
Yeah, which would make sense.
And then come back down. And then.
Yeah.
And so that drill baby drill floods the market. And this, what I was meaning was this, is that when we're looking at crude oil here, we talked about crude oil. Give me 1 second. Let me go back to the day here. January.
While you're looking, baby Draco, I'm in hiding after the lizard tried to kill me. Suggest why I'm not in a suit. The truth is, my kid's visiting. We were at a Mexican place, and I had to rush back.
Oh, so you got to get going, is what you're saying?
No, that's why I was late.
Oh.
I was answering before I was in a suit. As you're pulling that chart up, to point out, so I think there was some excitement over LNG exports opening up. And then, regardless of the hype, there's going to be more natural gas available on the market than before. There's no way around that. Even if the economy grows and demand goes up because of the drilling. Because when an oil company drills in an oil field, natural gas is a nuisance, not a benefit. And that means they're looking to get rid of it for as quickly and efficiently as possible. So in other words, you have a commodity that's coming in greater quantities on the market. I don't know how you open up enough markets to take all that to get the price to go up.
Yeah. I think what's interesting, like you said, how are you going to get rid of that market extra? So, all right, perfect. I just saw what Tom put up. So here's the thing. I look at it with like you said, institutions, and institutions are putting in seller wigs, which means that they're pushing the market up to drop down. You can see here that into next month, I mean, it's at least going to sell off into next month around this area, that $2.50 area here for natural gas. You've gotten major buyers sitting here, but it's somewhere between this 270 to about, let me tap this up here real quick.
I'm going to look up a date. I'm curious about a date where something happened against your chart. Let me look it up really quick.
Oh yeah, dude, it's actually kind of scary because like the news, did they play these news, like when we were talking about Kashmir, right? The whole entire situation that happened, it was literally at a supply area for the market, and so the news allowed the market to sell off to areas that are demand areas, like we were talking about with the India stock market. And so it's an interesting situation that I have a hard time honestly walking out in my head, because that means then that this is all these news and wars are all for profit, not necessarily for real freedom. And so it's like, again, I sound like a conspiracist, but it's just too many times. I've seen it too many times.
Well, so here's what I was looking for. On May 2nd, GE Vernova, ExxonMobil addressed data center demand with gas manufacturer taking 9 gigawatts of reservations in 30 days. So that was May 2nd. I'm curious, did that move the market at all?
Yeah, look, I'll show you here. And we're right at a supply area, at a peak area. So it's, this is the part that, like, again, remember when I made the comment about, this was a few years ago, and I think you came on prior, we were just getting acquainted, and I brought up the idea of October 7th, and that weekend I said, guys, expect some major news to actually come out because some negative news, because the market is stagnant right now and there's no sellers coming in, and so they need sellers to come in so they can push the market up. So they're going to drop the market and then push it back up. And you can see right here, this is May 2nd, which is right here. So that's this area you see, push it up, drop market, hit the supply area here, brought in all the people, and then drop it off. So again, this is a classic move. Like, it's just.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that 9 gigawatts worth of power is a serious amount of energy. And in fact, I believe, by way of comparison, the Biden administration cleared up the use of power across some U.S. governmental land, like nature reserves and things. Like, they did something to try to help improve the situation, and they let up. They had a regulatory throttle in place, and they let go. And when it happened at the time, right, I'm like, well, that's good, but it's just not a serious effort. But it was 20 gigawatts across the entire country was what the administration was saying. Hey, look what we've done here. And ExxonMobil got 9 gigawatts in 30 days.
Wow. By
comparison, one company looking at its natural gas operations. So, yeah, there's a lot. And I'm a big fan of natural gas to electricity for Bitcoin mining, but yeah, I literally have a vested interest in that. But
yeah, go ahead.
No, so I think it's interesting. You see, May 2nd, that announcement comes out. Institutional investors say, "All right, let's ride this excitement a little bit." And then they buy it up and then they sell off.
Yeah, and that's a typical move that we see with institutions, because they need the opposite end they need liquidity. I'm always looking for liquidity. Where is there going to be liquidity so they can take the opposite end, right? I remember I was on some major X show and I wasn't invited. Because I would hear these guys and these guys, I was like, man, these guys, they sound smart. They know what they're talking about. The problem is they don't understand the charts. And because they don't understand the charts, they're saying, oh, we're going to see this major sell-off. And I'm like, this chart's going up. This is not going to go down. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, and so I jump on. I said, look, this is what I expect to see crude oil do. And guys, he's like, well, what's your proof? And I go, because I'm watching buyers and sellers step into the market and it's going down. Or excuse me, it's going up and you're expecting it to go down. And I was kind of laughed off the stage. And then I came back on a couple weeks later to be like, all right, what's up, guys? And I hit the speak button and the girl was like, come on up. And she hit me up saying, look, you're right on. Don't rub it in their face. Like literally.
So, actually, I have a question for you, and I think it would be instructive for listeners around Bitcoin. I'm coming to this theory, or I'm forming this opinion, that Bitcoin is becoming too big to fail now.
Absolutely.
And the reason I suspect that, curious what you think is, if you run the price up too high or you depress the price too low with institutional money, you are going to get a fine. Maybe someone's going to go to jail. If you stabilize the economy, you are JP Morgan, literally him, the person, and you are a hero, right? So institutional money can stabilize. I mean, that's what Paulson tried to do, and they were going to try to save Lehman, all the way to JP Morgan doing it and actually stopping a panic, back and forth. So, Bitcoin drops below 90. And what was it in one day? 41 or 42 billion goes into. So, and that's technically them telling all of their trading desks or all of their sales guys or brokers saying, you need to call everyone and tell them to buy now. It's a great opportunity, right?
Yes and no.
So what do you think?
So this is the reason why, and I brought this up multiple times. We even talked about this yesterday. Okay, so they think long-term, short-term, mid-term, right? And so let's go over mid-term, long-term, and short-term. Short-term is a day trade. Mid-term is year, 2 year, 3 year, and long-term is 20, 30 years, okay? So long-term, short-term here with most institutions is they play this idea of a 20-year trade where they're going to establish year lows. So for example, when crude oil during the cerveza sickness dropped all the way down into negative territory, right? You saw more volume come in than we've ever seen and during that period for crude oil, right? And because of that, they were able to really establish these huge trades that are going to go for literally 20 years.
Yeah.
I think, and again, this is Pedro thinking, I've actually gone on Bitcoin.com, their web page or their show that they do, and I've talked about this. The institutions haven't really I don't think they really got in at these lows of 10,000, 5,000. And I honestly do expect them to say, oh, we had a glitch that just sold everything off. And I expect some type of flash crash to really drop this market down to these lows of like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. So they can buy up for these long-term plays, because right now between 100,000 and 10,000 is, or it can even go further down, is that their opportunity to buy up the last bit of Bitcoin. And it's funny and the reason why I get this, because every time Michael Saylor buys, what do we see Bitcoin do?
Goes up.
No, it goes down.
Oh no, when he says he's going to buy, it goes up. Because you talked about that. When he says he's about to buy or he's considering buying, it goes up.
Yeah, and it does. Yeah, and he'll come in and he'll buy. Here's the thing, though. And again, the institutions use him as a liquidity pool. When he comes in, I don't think he's friends with Goldman Sachs and all those guys. And I know it sounds weird, but I just don't think he really is, because they keep dumping on him. They keep dunking on him.
They're waiting for his exit liquidity.
Yeah, they use him as exit liquidity or to establish their shorts. And so when he comes in and he buys, they take the short side and they drop the market, and we see it almost every single time. And so because of that, that's why I'm more apt to say and the fact that they are buying it on their ledgers, i.e. institutional sides of CME and a lot of these others that you can't see on the blockchain right now. And so because of that, they're able to go through and really leverage this and drop this. And so I think we might see a major, huge sell-off before we see the stabilization of the long-term play that I expect with Bitcoin. And so when I say I don't expect us over the next 4 to 10 years to see a gradual climb with Bitcoin. I think because it's another, remember, you need something major with Bitcoin. It's going to be like they're acquainting it to the S&P 500. And so if we're going to see that same play there with the S&P 500, we need to see an equivalent market cap. And again, that's like a 40 trillion. And it sounds nuts. I know I sound like I'm putting on tinfoil hat, but I've seen it too many times now.
Let me put that together, because I think there's a cohesive.
Wait, let me finish that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and within the next 10 to 20 years, I expect a Bitcoin of 1.3 million to potentially even 3 million Bitcoin per Bitcoin. And so this play right now, right, is literally between 100,000 to 10,000. Is very small. It's very small.
But so let me put that together, because I think, as you said, the frame is short, medium, or long term.
Yeah. Right.
So if institutional money, or let's say market movers, it's probably better for legal reasons, minimum. If market movers were to depress the price of Bitcoin, they would be doing it to buy it back up, right? I think we're all in agreement in that, which is why I say it's too big to fail, because if they weren't the cause of the market dropping, I think they would bring in liquidity to bear to stabilize it. They bring in money to stabilize it, is my point. So if they didn't,
I think you're right, because they could get better credit on something that's stable rather than very volatile.
But now, I mean, we didn't see that. Let's also look at this as in the NASDAQ between 1995 to, or 1990, all the way up into 2002, right, or 2005, 8, right? It's just this idea that this is where we're at. This is where we're sitting, and the idea right now of seeing Bitcoin stable is not in their market because we don't see it with their
yeah, let me refine that. So when I meant stabilize, you're a hero when you stabilize it. I didn't mean that you keep the price flat over long periods of time. Okay. I mean when you prevent a crash. Okay. JP Morgan, there was a stock market crash. The government said you can break any rule you want, tell everyone you're buying everything, do it right now, and he did it. Right, like not keeping the price stable to remove volatility. Got it. Okay. Rather, ensuring that if the price were to drop drastically, if there was a loss of confidence. So when I say too big to fail, I mean literally, Bitcoin starts to fail. Nobody knows why. Goldman Sachs steps in and says we're putting $80 billion into it today, and so does all the ETFs come forward and say we're taking money out of our hive, and like that. That's what I mean.
I think so, and I think not. And the reason why, and I bring this up, is because just like we saw with the all-time low within crude oil and a lot of the institution, or what do you call them, the money movers?
Market movers. Market movers.
Market movers.
The nice, legally ambiguous way to describe it.
I like that. We need to bring you on so that we don't...
You know what we need to do? All this hamster and cerveza... All the codes should be like on a special like DYOR T-shirt. And it's like, right? It looks like those children's vocabulary cards, or when you learn a language, and it's just all of the different market mover, and then it's like a picture of like a hedge fund bro and a McLaren, and then you've got like Cerveza and it's a COVID, and so on and so forth.
Or do we add Godflesh to that?
Godflesh.
Obviously, I'm a big fan. By the way, anytime I wear this shirt, someone comes up and says something to me like, "Oh man, you're into Godflesh," and I'm like, "Yeah."
For sure, just like your correlation between recording Swamp Creature episodes and the price of Bitcoin mooning, for sure, Godflesh will be their album sales will go up, and they'll have a maximum stadium-sized tour being announced. Simply because
no. So I don't think they've ever played in a stadium. If they have, it's only happened 2 times. I saw them in Baltimore. It was awesome. I was like 12 feet away. If you don't know him, that was the one of the founding members of Napalm Death.
Oh,
when Godflesh,
well,
and then
there you go.
Let me go ahead and finish this off because we're almost towards the end, and I want to kind of wrap this all up for Technical Tuesday before we start to go into the stuff here real quick.
We're ending the show, Pedro.
I know, but I need to finish this because
he needs to finish, and none of what we said was of any use to anyone except maybe Godflesh.
I want to give people the opportunity because we're coming up to an opportunity here that we could be playing here. So I want to bring this up here real quick. I know we're finishing off. Shout out to if Drew from the Impact Theory is watching. Thank you. I saw you hearted my stuff. So if you're watching, please hook it up. Love it. We're going to go into some stuff here real quick. I want you to pass on to Tom because it's really important that this gets out, right? And so I want to make sure that that gets hit, so that people understand here what I expect. I was not expecting to heart my stuff. When I saw that, I was like, ooh, okay. So I want to make sure, and he's got about 1 million plus views. So I want to make sure we have this here. So gold. So we talked about the dollar dropping literally back here on the inauguration day. Or not gold, excuse me, the dollar dropping from here all the way down to our levels here. And we saw this, and we just had a big dissertation on that regarding what we're seeing. We talked about the yuan going up which we saw. We were going to go into that. I'll go into that later. But in addition to that, with the yuan, we also saw China really start to hemorrhage in relationship to their economic stance and a lot of the situation. And that's really what gave Trump the power to be able to negotiate, saying, you can play that game. We're not playing by your rules. No longer our geopolitical righteous thoughts. Hey, it's game on. Let's play. Right. And so we saw that. And like you said perfectly, Chris, is that we're definitely seeing Trump kind of come in here. And it looks like he might be manipulating the dollar here with the institutions because he's got a lot of friends there. So with that said, I want to add this on this last little bit because I think it's important to pay attention here as it starts to move is where does it play with Bitcoin and how is this we could potentially see a major sell off maybe at that 120 mark area. And the reason why is because if we keep seeing the dollar drop here and we keep seeing it get suppressed, which is what we're seeing right now, then that's going to push up the yuan. And you can see here, this is the yuan offshore. You can see how it is skyrocketed over. I mean, you can see here, you can just see it. It's just going up here. And if we see another drop in the US dollar and staying what we're seeing, then I believe China will liquidate there. And I think they're one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin right now as we speak. Because the reality is we see a lot of miners that are actually coming from that area. I think they're the second outside of the US of miners that actually are mining coin. If Chris, you want to correct, please do.
They have a ton of hash rate and they have a bunch of cheap hydropower. I think it's interesting because you'll have particularly media commentators that are center left of center and left that will say, oh, the dollar's weakening, the yuan's strengthening, everything, this is failing. And they're completely missing the boat that the US is likely weakening the dollar on purpose for an advantage, and China has weakened its yuan for 2 decades deliberately for a trade advantage. So if you're listening to someone commentating and they fail to point that out, you can pretty much ignore anything they say.
Yes. And so I want to add this because this idea of this is if we see China's going to need to figure out a way, or the CCP, or what do we call it? The hamster. The
rust hamster. Don't call it red either. Too obvious.
Too obvious. The rusty hamster is going to need to figure out a way to prop up their system. And so they have a ton of gold, but I don't think they're going to sell off their gold. I think what they're going to do is they're going to sell off their Bitcoin, hence causing major issues, making Trump look like a bad person because he invested all this money into the market. Hence, what Chris was saying, then all of a sudden you have Goldman Sachs, you have major market or money movers go through and they come and sustain it at those low levels, causing it at just a scream up to the air. Now, granted, this is high speculation, but in this high speculation, go back and look at a lot of my videos and you will see my speculations. I've got probably an 80% win ratio.
What we need to do?
What's up?
We need to do the Ask Pedro like Sarlacc video. And have you ever seen that, the Johnny Carson show? He would be given an envelope and he would give an answer, and it would be like this hilarious prediction of the future. But anyways, watch it. You'll immediately get what I'm talking about. But we should do like the Pedro predictions and then catalog it and come back in 6 months and be like, hey, which ones were right, which ones were wrong? Be interesting to look at and learn from. It's like you're in Canada. You're going to know this, Tom. When they have the squid compete against the Analyst to pick each year to pick who's going to win the Stanley Cup, and the squid usually beats 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
Damn squid wins.
I know we're playing the outro music, but I need to finish this because I want to make sure that this gets out there. And this idea of literally...
It's not like you're being suppressed, Pedro. We talk for 2.5 hours every day.
I know that. But I want it because we have somebody who's watching this who has a huge following. like literally a huge following. And so
It's not me. Who is it?
it's a guy named Drew, and he's
Gotcha.
yeah. Shout out to Drew if you're watching, man. Appreciate you for hearting my stuff. But I want to add this because this is super important. Right now, we will see this play happen starting in the Russell. We talked about the Russell, and I think we'll see if the Russell really starts to sell off. This will be an indication of what we may see in the future. Those are going to be small companies in the U.S. under a certain area, and I believe, and this is the reason why, is China can buy into our stock market. And it is the small businesses in the world that actually sustain the U.S. Can you turn off the music in my ear?
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. It's like really loud. Thank you. Because of the fact that the Russell 2000, that's why we went over it. The Russell 2000, if you can cause the Russell 2000 to drop hard, you're going to affect a large portion of, can you turn it down? Because it's going back up.
I can't even hear it.
Can you just turn it off in my ear? Just turn it off in my ear.
I did. Oh, sorry, I didn't.
Pedro's being jammed.
It's like throwing me off because it's all right. There we go. So if you start to see the drop in the Russell here, this is going to be a huge indication that China or the bronze, the rustic hamster is playing, the rustic hamster is playing here because they can buy into through outside sources into our economy and a stock and into the stock market. So with that, you need to be prepared, pay attention to these small little indicators to see the market start to turn around. Hence, if that does happen, and I'm looking to see because they're at a critical point here from a financial standpoint that they're starting to lose power, literally not I'm talking like political power. And so they need to do something. And so I'm expecting to see this up at this level here of that one, like up in this level of 120, 130. I hope I'm wrong. And, and I still haven't, we'll see what happens here. But this is kind of like what I'm expecting here. So I wanted to go over that here with you guys and show you my thought processes. And then tomorrow we'll go over crypto and a lot of those other details of how to play a lot of the other markets. Long story short, let's go over here real quick. Crow is going sideways here. I'm expecting a big kind of sell off here to kind of buy back a little bit more. Last time Chris was on, it was about 20 cents. I said I expected below 10 cents and into that 7 cents. We also talked about the Ethereum trade here. The Ethereum trade last time you were on was up at the level up in here. I said I expected to be playing down in that 1500, 14, and potentially 1000 area. Got down to the 1500, but still a nice little play. I expect next month for it to come back down into the level of that 22, 23 area here to see it can continue up. So that was it in a nutshell. That's all I wanted to say. I know I just did these, and I love your commentary, so I get caught up, but it's just like I wanted to finish that off here so that people can understand what I'm expecting the market. And Drew, if you're there, let and inform Tom some of the stuff that I talked about today, and our man over here, Chris Alexander, bring him on because he's an expert at geopolitical military views, and he's been on almost every single news source out there. That's it. Sorry.
Yeah, no parents fee. Well, I'll waive it in your case. I never had an appearance fee. Just make to anyone who.
Actually, you're getting. I think you're getting a little fee from Godflesh here to promote the new upcoming tour.
Yeah. Let's go.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for today. We had a great show today. I was off for a bit doing my kingery stuff, and thank you to Chris Alexander for once again filling in for me. I appreciate it, Chris. We look forward to having you again in the future here on the show. Hold on, let me get
pinch hitter.
And we covered a lot of territory today. Obviously, Bitcoin is moving and grooving here. We're still at the highs of it. Pay attention to the markets. If you recall from the beginning of the show, that was about 2 months ago, Pedro was talking about how it's going to go down this month to 97,000 and hopefully then follow the pattern to go back up into the 120s and 130s. Next month, we're going to be watching Pedro's call on that, and I'm going to be looking to make a trade on that, on the reversal down to 97,000. Obviously, we'll keep you informed how that is. Also, pay attention to the crypto swamp creatures. Lots of new episodes out. Lots of shorts coming out. If you see the shorts out there, please like and subscribe, or subscribe, share, do all those good stuff. The swampies need your views so we can get the big sponsors and pay for them to go all over the world on my dime.
That's right. We're this close to doing a deal with Northrop Grumman.
Right. This close. Northrop Grumman's Canada division, but same.
Not that we've contacted or talked to them at all, just to be clear, but I feel it.
Just this close, and maybe someone you've heard of down the street across the block may have run into their logo somewhere. So that's close enough to doing a deal.
Yeah, it's basically done.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching the show. My name is Tom. The man in the box over here is Chris Alexander. The man in the box over here is Pedro Garcia, the crypto analyst. On behalf of everyone here at DYOR Media, you're looking at all three of them here. Have a great day, and we will see you. We'll see you tomorrow. Same bat channel, same bat place. Cheers.